First things first, I'm sorry, spots. I'm not very well. I've had an allergic reaction to something. My nose is completely blocked. It's a bit. Your boy is not. It's not going well for your boy. If I sneeze, if I cough, I'm sorry. I've got a little glass of water. Hopefully that helps. It won't. Let's be real. It's the world we're living in now. It's poor. The other thing I wanted to do is wanted to directly respond to some comments that you lovely people had left on previous videos of mine on this channel, because some of them will play directly into how I present this video and some of them will play directly into the topic of this video. Also, I've prepared for once and I want to show off that fact. So the first one was on my Noble video and it was from Stuart Miller. Stuart says, "I get what you're saying and I even agree to most of it, but please cut down on the waffle." Stuart, 100% correct. I rewatched it. Waffle central, big time. I will endeavour to have a waffleless video. This is a waffle-free zone. I hope. That's why I've made notes. I've made notes, Stuart. That's how big I've gone on trying to reduce the waffle. I've tried to really prepare. It's going to go badly for me. That's one of those last things you say before a terrible event type things. The other thing was on my Nolan video. In Nolan, I wanted to speak about the pros of Kevin Nolan as a coach, as an influence on the team, and potentially even as a little cheeky manager. And I didn't want to speak about Moyes too much, and I didn't think I had, but then this comment made me think differently. Tone says, "I think this is unfair, as if Moyes keeps us up again, that's twice he would have kept us up, and that was his job both times. So would he then not deserve the job?" Tone was... it set me off. That's what set me off. I've been thinking about it, and I rewatched it. I had spoke about him too much, if I'm honest, and I replied to Tone and we had a conversation about my opinions on Moyes. And the other one I want to bring up is the cat, and this is just a solid... first sentence, solid YouTube comment. Second sentence, relevant to the video. "I enjoy Hammer's chat, but as supporters, opinions can be like brain farts. The cat, my friend, you're totally right. Sometimes I hear myself say stuff and I'm like, that's a thing you want to say out loud, but I've said it at that point. There's not much, not a wall there. I need some sort of filtration system. But yeah, I enjoyed that. And then the second part is relevant to this video. "Moyes shouldn't be judged on his first time in charge, as it was a short-term rescue job. And he can't be judged on this short-term rescue appointment either." Here's the crux of the video. Here's where the notes come into play, Stuart. Get hyped for some notes, my friend. I think he can be judged. And not only do I think he can be judged, I think now, given the situation at hand, it's actually a super interesting time to judge him. There was that period just before we went on break where we were doing really well, and it wasn't even just he was doing really well or the team were doing really well, it was both. But there was also that time just before that where we were doing really badly and he was doing really badly. And then there was the Bournemouth game, which is just... was the Bournemouth game. And so I think now is the perfect time to judge him, and one of the more interesting times to judge him. And so that's what I'm going to try and do, if I can get my words out correctly, is I'm going to try and give David Moyes a fair and balanced judgment. I want to analyse his time here and really be as fair as possible, because I feel like maybe I've been unfair in the past. And it's something I spoke about briefly on the Patreon podcast that myself and Ray are doing. Two Spanners, One Hammer. If you're a Patreon, go check it out, please. Feedback, if you want to get involved, let me know. Anyway, let's get started. Let's start with the first season, right? He comes in, his job is survival. Survive at any costs. That was his remit from Sullivan and Gold. And as Tone said, he nailed it, right? He survived. 13th place. Some amount of points for free. I probably should have written those ones down. The notes have already failed me. The notes have failed me. I want to say 8. Let's go with 8. He was 8 points clear, right? Correct me if I'm wrong. That's... you look at it from a broad standpoint, you go, his job was to survive. He survived. How can you criticise that? Well, let's dive into it a bit. Let's really break it down. His first 4 games were bad. If anything, it actually got worse before it got better. 3 losses and a draw. We dip into the relegation zone, which we weren't in before. I think actually he probably came in too early, which is weird because this time I think he came in too late. But I still had faith in Slav. Now I recognise that might have been misplaced fanboyism for the final season, Upton Park or whatever. But I did have faith Slav could get us out of it. I wasn't super scared of relegation. I looked at the teams below us and I thought, nah, we've got more than them. We're good. We're good. Which might be naive. That's a fair point to make, I think, as a counterpoint, saying that could be naive. I think that's true, but he came in and it wasn't that dire a situation, and it being so early into the season, it being I think early November 7th was my guess. Let's go November 7th again. Correct me if I'm wrong. The notes. Why did I not write this down? I've written notes. I felt like it was early. I wasn't super scared, and for us to get worse, to dip down, I remember thinking, well, I didn't think we were going to get relegated before, but now I'm not entirely certain, because Moyes came in with a horrendous reputation. We were like the only club in the Premier League who could even touch him. And so we dropped down, and I was like, oh no, it's going to go bad. So how did he turn it around? And I think there's one man to thank for that, and it's Marko Arnautovic. One of the things I've said, which I think is probably actually slightly unfair, is that I don't think... Is that I think we wouldn't have survived without Marko Arnautovic. And as much as I do believe that, I think that sort of rips any credit away from Moyes, and I don't want to do that, right? I want to make sure that I give him the credit he deserves. But Marko Arnautovic was instrumental. Moyes started him up front with Antonio against Chelsea. Arnautovic scores, and he goes on a fantastic run for the rest of the season. He scored in 9 different games, that's 11 goals, and had 3 of them being match-winning. Notes. Arnautovic was super vital. Moyes' tactics, I really didn't even like Moyes' tactics at the time, because they were very much play as defensively as possible, sometimes play 8 defenders, and then just pump it in the general vicinity of Marko Arnautovic and hope he works his magic. And that was just... as fun as it was watching Marko Arnautovic, and it really was. Like, Marko, when he was in full swing that season, was just an absolute baller, like a complete and utter. The dude is just, because not only did he have that turn of pace and that swagger to take it past a man, to dribble past a man like every football fan loves to watch, he also had the strength to just barge him out of the way as well. Oh, he was excellent, he really was. But I also liked having maybe 1 or 2 other attacking players joining him in those endeavours. It very much became, at times, Marko Arnautovic and the West Ham defence. Good band name. But even during that run where we elevated ourselves back out, there were still times where it went really, really badly. I mean, everyone obviously remembers the Burnley match for obvious reasons, and we lost 3-0 then. But the 2 matches before that, we lost 4-1 to Liverpool and 4-1 to Swansea. Both away. 4-1 to Liverpool away, fair but not great. 4-1 to Swansea. Oof, I remember being really angry at that game as well. And I think that probably played into Burnley somewhat as well. We had some really bad runs there. We had some really bad moments under Moyes in that first year, and that contributed to a 29% win record. That was his win percentage, was 29%, which at the time was the 2nd lowest of any permanent West Ham manager ever. The only person lower than him was Gianfranco Zola, 28.75%. Notes, see, they don't fail me always, but they do fail me sometimes. The fact we got to 13th that year maybe shows how bad the rest of the league was, or the people below us. To have a win ratio of 29% and yet come 13th is kind of crazy. Like, we shouldn't forget how crazy that is. But to be fair to Moyes, he did do the job. But did he do it well enough? I don't think so. I thought it was the right time to get rid of him. If me or you were working in an office and we did our job but not very well, you would say the boss probably has their right to be a bit pissed off about that. And I think that's how we were. I think it was the right time to go and try and be as ambitious as possible. Was Pellegrini the right person? I don't know. That's something we can look at in hindsight. We can make those arguments. So this next time he comes in, I think it's too late. I also think the only reason he comes in is because of how late we did it. If it was earlier, we might have been able to get someone else. But by the time we got rid of Pellegrini, which was way too late, he was the only option in. But he comes in. What's his remit? Again, survive. Survive at any costs. That first game against Bournemouth was insane. I remember sitting in the stadium and being really apprehensive about it and thinking, I'm not excited about this. I think we're going to be bad. I think we're going to get battered. I think we're going to be defensive and boring. And yet, somehow we roll up 4-0. And not only did we roll up 4-0, we were brilliant. We did everything that I couldn't imagine David Moyes doing. I couldn't fathom David Moyes doing after the first time he was at the club. We battered them. We absolutely whacked them out of the park. Whack, whack, whack. All day, all night. Pow, 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 pow. And then Moyes came back. Like, that game, it was like Moyes didn't even exist, because it was so anti-him. But then the exact same thing started happening. Too many defensive players, too negative a style of football, and I get it. He's under immense pressure. He's in a ridiculously difficult situation, both for him personally and his managerial trajectory, to try and, but also to get West Ham to, you know, a really, really difficult situation. But without a little bit of invention, without a little bit of fire to step forward, it's not there. It's just not there. It's you can't survive. You can't really ever be loved. And it was going on, and I wanted him gone. I genuinely wanted him gone. And I know other people have said it. Gio said it on the podcast I mentioned earlier. After the Brighton game, I wanted him gone. I did not want him at West Ham anymore. I was done. Not like I wanted him in the first place, but at that point I was like, nope, all my fears have been confirmed. He can go now. Cheers. Go. And then again, this thing just happened. It was like Bournemouth. We stepped up at Liverpool, and all of a sudden we're playing great. He's playing more attacking. He's put the right people in the right positions. He's got some flair going. Like, we were really good. I think his substitutions were bad, and that's something that's been consistent throughout his entire time at West Ham. His substitutions are bloody woeful at times. But outside of that, he made the right choices. He lined up correctly, and it was like, whoa, we went for this. Southampton rolls up. Please, don't revert. And I had no faith. I thought he was going to revert. I was like, he's going to be a chicken about this. He's not going to do anything. He's going to just play it safe, and it's going to cost us. But he didn't. He stepped up. He went for it again. We battered him. Whap, 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 whap. I like the word whap at the moment. He just whapped him about. Whap.com. And I was like, oh my god, we did really well again. Like, it was just good to watch. Like, again, I was enjoying life all of a sudden. I wasn't so depressed as I was under David Moyes as I was previously before that. Then Arsenal comes up again. It's in the back of my mind. Please, just come on, do something. Don't be negative. Don't be negative. And he did it again. He went for it. And we lost, but we lost valiantly. Arguably, we shouldn't have lost. And that's all you want as a West Ham fan. That's all I want as a West Ham fan, is to not think we deserve to lose every single time. I want us to step to teams, to take it to them, to play the attacking football, the West Ham way. And it's not the West Ham way in the sense of tiki-taka, lovely passing, but it's just going for it, giving them both barrels. And so going into the Wolves game, you can see on the preview on the main channel, I was confident he was going to do the right thing. For the first time under Moyes, I could say I was confident we were going to play the way I wanted us to play. He was going to line up the way I wanted him to line up. And I was like, do you know what? There's a chance here. I predicted 1-1 for Wolves. And then obviously all of this happened. So where does that leave us? I don't want to be lulled into a false... allergies. I don't want to be lulled into a false sense of security and think that it's all rosy because of recency bias. Those 3 games are only 3 games. His win ratio is now officially currently the lowest of any permanent manager at West Ham United. His combined reigns are something at like 27%. I didn't make the exact numbers, but it's about 27 because this reign is currently 25%. His current reign is the lowest win percentage of any permanent West Ham manager ever. So his 2 reigns are first bottom and third bottom. And combined, he is the lowest. So I don't want to be lulled into this false sense of security with David and think that it was all hunky-dory because of those last 3 games. But to be fair to him, if he had carried on the way he was doing it the last 3 games, the way he was setting up the team, the way he was performing, at the end of the season I wouldn't have been super angry to see him leave. Or super happy to see him leave. I would have gone, do you know what? He probably deserves this at that point. And I had faith for the first time against Wolves that he would have done the thing I wanted him to do. Does he stay? We'll find out when all this blows over. In the words of Simon Pegg's character in Shaun of the Dead, we'll just wait for all this to blow over. And I guess after that, when the dust settles and we play those remaining 9 games, we'll see if that faith that he was going to actually do the right thing for once was misplaced or not.